All right, I believe we are up and running. Is good. Oh, I forgot one thing.
Behold, my stuff.
All right, so what we're going to do today is we're going to pretty much go through what my collection looks like. I think it'd be a good idea for people to get an idea of what it is we've done here so far. In the last month and a half, we've had over 100 new members come through, so I feel like a lot of the people here may not have gone through the history and seen what it is that we have and we do. So now's as good a time as any to kind of hit the reset button and show everybody what's going on. Collections. Well, what a collection is anything Evil Dead. It might be something like a special edition DVD, a collector's edition VHS, Army of Darkness. It could be actual set pieces, or what we call sacred ground, actual cabin and workshed pieces that you've picked up from people that have authorized to be collectors on that and distributors of that. Or it can be replica props. So, and then the ultimate is what we call grails. Actual screen-used material that were picked up either from production or picked up screen-used. Step below grail would be something cast from the same mold as a screen-used, or if it's a found object, obtaining the actual found object. For example, the Trifari crown necklace. And we're going to move that over to thenightsofsamaria.com as a full list of where you purchase it, what the hell's the product, etc. And now we have everything. So what I want to do is show you some of my highlights and what I've got going on in my house. And I by no means have everything. But I have about as much as my wife can stand. And you could even argue she'd want me to thin it out a little bit. But I'm going to show you what we got. So some stuff is just kind of fun, like the little bobblehead collectors that came with the Blu-ray of Ash vs. Evil Dead. This stuff was just cutesy stuff that I picked up and is fun. This is a jewelry box made by Doug Johnson. And most of the admins have bought one of these and have one of these, and some other people have bought them. Mine is customized. I asked for it with a red cloth. And inside the box, I have put the Hero of the Sky page in it. And that contains some of my jewelry. This was the first prototype KOS ring that we ever made with just ring caps. It has Falco's Pablo necklace, which was so cool, I couldn't not get it. And the reason I wanted this versus some of the other jewelry is because it interacts with the Necronomicon, and so I felt like I really wanted that. And because one of our members had made it, I absolutely had to buy one because it just looks so cool. And then, of course, we have our pride and joy, which is our KOS rings. And this is one of the metal ones. And Doug really crushed it with these boxes. I really enjoy the finishing work and the bit on it. And I had a separate box to display my ring, but now I display it in this because I really like this look. In addition to that, I also have a wax seal that I had custom made, which is the KOS wax seal. And so that little guy right here is what stamps a lot of the official stuff that I send out with my necros and things like that. So you know you got real deal shit. So the KOS ring is about a size 12, which works out really well for me. And it was sized by Kurt and I to be as close to the original we can. Emmanuel from Evil Dead Italia, who recently posted an interview he got to do with Bruce Campbell, a little meet and greet. He owns Dalton's ring. There was only one hero ring, and he got it. And so that was sold at auction, and we used that to help Kurt build the band of the ring. The cap of the ring, however, is cast from a screen-used ring that I came into possession of. So what I'm going to do now is show you some of the stuff we've done over the years and some of the stuff that have led people into this group and what's attracted them in because of what we can do. So when we talk about, you guys have all seen Roger Allen Baker's Evil Dead 2 dagger. When you compare it to the Carrot, which is sculpted by Tom Sullivan from Tots, you can see why people flock to this group, because that dagger is a 3D model that looks exactly like the show. This was the only thing you could buy over the counter for the longest time. This was also a gift from Jason Wade Cox. Jason and I have had back and forth for years, but this was sculpted by Tom Sullivan for Trick or Treat Studios. It's meant to be an oversized allusion to what he did back in the day. And I like this piece purely because I know it's a Tom Sullivan sculpt. A lot of people like to shit on the carrot and call it the carrot. But this is Tom. This is Tom's sculpt. So why would you not want that in your collection? This is sculpted by the man. Whether or not it's accurate is irrelevant. It's his interpretation of his own work. So this is officially licensed. It's sculpted by the real artist from Evil Dead 2. Why wouldn't you want it? So I enjoy having this very much. And this sits around in my basement with all my other stuff. The next thing that we kind of got known for, the infamous Jacksonville shirt. I spent a long time researching what that was, and I found that there were bolts of fabric made in various colorings sold to various t-shirt companies that made the same shirt. So these shirts in particular were a very dark blue, so it looked like somebody had scanned the design of the fabric and reprinted it on a very, very deep ink. And so it was very dark blue, but with the right color correction, you can make it pop like the blue it's supposed to be, which is what we all assumed. But so very hard to find a royal blue one, but there was a company that did get a hold of the bolts and made a bunch of these, and they were out there for a while. When I reached out to them, they found out what the shirt was, they immediately doubled their price. So a bunch of us got these for like $11. Now they supercharge for them. But it is the proper pattern. It does contain all the proper elements, including the cigar box, the cocktails, and whatnot. And it has been established that it was the same design printed in a different color scheme. So thanks to Chris Hamilton, we can put that theory to rest. We know what happened with those shirts. And Chris has the most accurate Jacksonville shirt there is. So, except for the person who won the auction. But Chris can proudly say he's got the really real Jacksonville shirt, and the rest of us have the next best thing. So that's an example of like soft parts where you'd get a found item. We found that, we put the eBay link out, and a bunch of people are able to get a Jacksonville shirt, which means they can do a quick impromptu Ash for a con. Great. That's one way we help the group. And I'll keep this forever, even though I don't wear it a ton. But it represents what we were doing for a group. And that made me happy. Boomsticks was a big thing. Everybody always asked about Boomsticks. That was another example. I did a video on this nice toy Stagecoach shotgun. That's pretty close. The main reason I encouraged people to pick this one up is because this piece is very, very similar to what Ash's saw looks like. In fact, there is a stock that I found on a toy that's exactly like it. Let me grab it. So this is actually pretty much identical to the stock that is on Ash vs. Evil Dead. So much so that it even has the corrugated bits in here. And this is a toy. This is a toy on a single barrel shotgun that I found, and it had supposed to have a butt on it, but this is almost identical to what the actual shotgun is in AVED. So I actually have this, and I broke off the other piece. I'm gonna build just a wooden PVC pipe shotgun thing just to stick in your holster so that this accurate stock sticks out the back. But Paul, as he said, 3D printed one is great. I saw Johnny Ruckus's 3D printed one at Rock and Shock, and it was fucking glorious. 3D print is definitely the most affordable way to go to get an accurate one. I'm just king of found parts. I'm all about the found parts. That's my thing. I don't own a 3D printer, so I have to find things. But this is an example of like the stock on that gun. And this was pretty close. And in the end, I don't pose with the gun much. I just kind of stick it in the thing and let it hang out the back. But one thing I liked about this one, it shot shells out the back, which kind of was really cool. I just really dug that they did that. So that was just one of those little cutesy things that I really enjoyed and made me want to buy it. So this was my OG harness that I made, which was housing my gun. It's now my AOD harness. And this was just foam wrapped in fabric, and I just kind of threw it together because the harness was kind of hard to see in AOD. And I used it for all my Ash vs. Evil Dead cosplay and whatnot until the auction photos came out. We had better ones, and I was able to make a better one. But this was like an example of where I started, just on a harness. And if you look in there, you can see the blue of the fabric. It's like a yoga mat. And then I just covered it in fabric, and I used push pins to simulate bolts. And that's what I did. This is my Ash vs. Evil Dead setup. we spent a lot of time sourcing and looking at the blue shirts and the different shirts you could get. This is a royal blue shirt. It is not a denim shirt. It's a thick cotton material. Vinny actually won Ash's Henrietta shirt. The gun did work good. Vinny won Ash's actual shirt. I got to wear that shirt. I'm the same size as Bruce, which was kind of cool. But it's a very heavy Carhartt type jacket. Totally custom. Can't be bought over the counter. So what we had to do was find some of the telltale things. Some of the buttons had to match up. The double stitching. The cornered pockets. This was the best shirt that I found, and I really love how it photographs. And it's great. And it has my new harness, which has the stitching and things that I like where I like it, and I'm pretty happy with it. And then, of course, it has one of Kurt's belts. It has one of Kurt's Kelly belts. Now, what's interesting about the Kelly belt is I've taken Kurt's advice, and I have gone in and added elastic to my Kelly belt so that it can move and bend with me when I'm wearing it as a costume. And that works out really well for me. The harness was a big project for us at one point. There was about half a year where we spent sourcing this, and we found out that this was a German, I believe World War II harness, for a Y harness for military, which a lot of that material ended up in Australia and New Zealand. Germany sold off a lot of their tactical equipment after the war to help supply Australia as they were developing their military. So a lot of their stuff is used German stuff. And I just found that reading online, which is kind of interesting. But these parts are all typically gray and then weathered black, because they look black with the color grading in the show, but if you look at the actual harnesses, they still are gray. They're just weathered heavily. And Paris became very, very obsessed with it. And now Paris is probably the most knowledgeable guy we have in the group on the harness. He's the only guy that I would feel comfortable asking to make me a harness. If I needed another one of these and I needed it to be absolutely correct, I would ask Paris to make me a harness. So he's a guy you could reach out to if you need the soft parts. I actually have some spare parts for a harness, so if you want to build one yourself, I do have the parts. And then there's these custom D-ring, the 4 little pips on an actual bit there. It's all in there, and of course very, very, very heavily weathered, but as you can see, has that whole look to it. And that is the AVED. AOD, on the other hand, looks very different. Now this is a bump in the night AOD, which I heavily modified, and I did a whole video on how I used different tape and things like that to modify this to make it look more accurate to AOD. But what's really cool about AOD, this brooch is accurate to Army of Darkness. And Kurt and I discovered some high-resolution clips, and we decided we were both going to take a crack at sculpting one. And we went back and forth. Are these dragons? Are these flowers? Is it the snake eating itself? We went back and forth a lot about the detail before we discovered this is floral. And so Kurt and I both went in and sculpted this to the best of our ability. And he's got one of mine, I got one of his, and this is actually a pewter one. And then later in the Evil Dead Museum, we got a picture of one, and it confirmed that Kurt nailed it. This is heavily weathered. Weathering soft parts is one of my jams. I love that. So it has all the necessary bits. It's actually a very light blue when you buy it, so I dyed it unevenly dark blue, and then I stained the shit out of it, and now it has that very beat-to-hell ash look that I like. But each of those costumes has an additional component. And of course, I'm talking about the hand. In both of those films, Ash didn't just sport a saw, he sported a glove. And I have been obsessed with the AOD glove for a long time. And the company that made that made a replica latex glove, which wasn't accurate, but it existed. And it was a Bump in the Night Studios latex Army of Darkness glove, which is this. And the problem was they discontinued it, so you couldn't find it anymore. And it was a glorious little piece for everybody. Now, one thing that really bugged me is I have gigantic hands. I have tiny wrists, but big hands. And so this doesn't fit me at all. So I had to come up with a way, because I wanted to wear this. I was making that costume. I knew it was going to be a thing, and I said, I want to wear this. Like, that pinky is stubby as fuck. Look at how big my pinky is compared to my ring finger, and then look at this. That ain't gonna cut it. So I needed to figure out how a non-Oompa Loompa could wear these. And so I ended up taking it upon myself to modify. And what we came up with was this. Now this is foam gauntlet that zips. And it's nothing special. It's just the exact gauntlet from the show. And I made it out of foam, and I used my usual 3 things that I use for everything. Rub and buff, graphite powder, and shoe polish. And now it looks like this. It's amazing how much you can make with those 3 items. I could do a whole channel, and I could just call it Rub and Buff, Shoe Polish, and Graphite Powder. But this is the foam gauntlet, which you don't even see when I wear the costume, because it's under my sleeve, but it's there. And then the glove itself, which is still not done, but it was done enough to go to con, has an actual leather strap and buckle. It does have latex pieces from that glove. I cut it up, and I extended the size of the pinky by using other pieces that I had. I made the thumb piece, which still needs one more bit to go on there. But this is an actual fisherman's glove. It's metal. It's wireframe metal mesh, so it's as close as you're going to get to a metal mesh glove. It doesn't have the palm piece, but this is all on here, and this is a fully functional, full-size glove that I wear when I do Ash vs. Evil Dead, and 1 million people complimented me on this thing. They would not stop with the damn glove, which is great, because honestly, the glove is super cheap. Anybody can do it. And that was just a small example of how we took a good product and made it better. That's just like that next step. And then I never did the pump action. Rob McClain also made that glove and had parts for that glove and actually sold molds for that piece. And I really wanted to buy it, but I just didn't have the finances, so I couldn't justify the purchase. But it makes a fantastic display, but my wearable version, I think it's great, but I actually like the latex one as a display more. I think if you're going to get one of these, or if you have one of these, put it in a cup, display it. It makes a gorgeous display in your collection. My wearable one is just that. I wear it, and I actually keep it in a trunk when I'm not wearing it. The next thing that you immediately are now drawn to is, well, if you have the AOD glove, then you need a power glove. We were able to put together a really halfway decent power glove, which is this guy here. And you guys have seen my power glove. It's appeared in photo shoots. It's appeared on the channel multiple times, on the page. So you guys know this is all Vinny and Roger Allen Baker molds and things like that. So these are no lights or sounds or anything like that. I don't need it. It's missing 2 of the wires that run back through here. I know I got to put those in, but and my Chicago screws are not accurate. They need to be swapped out with proper. But you can see this is all what it's supposed to be. And season 3, Power Glove, just really, really bright. Actually, one of these parts is actually Josh Hayslip made for me as well, so he's involved in this build. And one of these is custom. I custom did some of these pieces, but Power Glove also disconnects so that I can wear this with my saw. So that was a big thing for me. I wanted to have it disconnect so that my Ash vs. Evil Dead would be accurate to have the wrist mount. And so that was a big trapping for me. I wasn't going to do a power glove if I couldn't split it in half. And not everybody's does. And that's a big pain in the ass for a lot of people, because they have a glove and then they have a separate wrist mount because their glove doesn't come apart, which is fine. But I didn't want 2. I wanted 1. And why I made that complicated for myself, I do not know, but I ended up doing it. So this is my power glove. Again, I don't display it. I should, because it's badass. But right now, it just kind of sits in my box until I need it for costuming. But right now, that's my power glove. So that is the power glove. So now we've seen an AVED costume, an AOD costume, we've seen an AOD glove, and we've seen an AVED glove. That covers pretty much most of my cosplay for Ash, except for one major factor. We haven't seen a saw yet. And as I mentioned, I built my own, but I needed help. And so Brett and his videos helped me build this. And I deliberately made changes to this because I wanted my saw to just be what I wanted. I knew I was going to wear it, and I knew it had to be comfortable on me. So I made some mods that if I could go back and do it again, I probably wouldn't. But at the time, it made sense, and I'm not really sorry I did it. The first muffler piece I ever did was this. I made this myself because I had originally planned on putting a smoke machine in this hollow space here, and I had slipped this in using foam so that I could get a smoke machine in there. So this was one modification that I made. But this is a Homelight Super 2, because it's plastic. I didn't drill the hole. I don't like the hole. I understand its need for it, but I don't like it. My Brett saw will have the hole, I'm sure. I wanted a working pull cord. I wanted that effect for photo shoots and stuff, and I wanted that sound. So I made sure that my Homelight preserved the pull cord ability. The grill is not a McLean, but it's pretty close. This is going to get turned into an AOD. The handle is 100% custom by me. The top is 100% custom, and I actually had to build this with information from Brett. But you'll notice that my top terminates right at the back end of the saw. It doesn't go over an inch the way it's supposed to. The reason is I didn't want my cuff tilting down because I didn't want that strain on my wrist because I have a vertical handle in there. So in order for, and I'll pop this out and show you. Inside, you can see I've got a vertical handle in there. And so I knew I wasn't going to be able to do this the way it does if you build it accurately. I wanted my hand to go straight in so that I can hold it like this and support it. Because like I said, I have thin wrists, and even though I had the forearm strength to support it, now I don't, but I did, I didn't want it to be that uncomfortable if I was going to wear this around a whole con. I also was the first person to build one of these, which is the plug that goes in the saw, that goes in the glove. This is Ash's attachment piece. And so people have done it better since. Vinny actually has a working one, but I was the first one to build one of those, and that was one of those things that I think we needed. The other thing is, when I was building this, I only have one connector on the bottom. There's supposed to be two, so I got to modify that. This handle is 100% customized. These are actual gas caps, but you'll notice that one of my gas caps is a replacement. It doesn't have any text on it. And then my switch that I used, my toggle switch, is the actual switch from the Homelight with the piece of metal on-off on it. It's supposed to be a bigger toggle switch that you swap out. I did not do that. I kept the original one. So a lot of little things I modified myself, just for me. And then over the years, watching Brett and all the information we've scrolled out, it seems more feasible to go in and modify some of these mistakes and choices back to the original way because we know what they are now. Even things like, you know, the custom grunge that I put on and things like that. Weathering has always been something that I've been good with. So I was always happy with the way I weathered it. What I've decided to do now is take this and turn it into an Army of Darkness saw, because I am getting a saw from Brett that is themed to Ash vs. Evil Dead. Now, that's the saw. What about the bars? Like I said, I knew I was going to a con. So that means I needed one that was light. And the best lightweight bar is those stupid Spirit of Halloween guys. And so I made one of these look fairly Avid. And I can mount this on that saw. I drilled some extra holes and I can mount that in. And it's perfectly light and easy to walk around con. The actual chainsaw bar that I ended up getting was I believe it was an Oregon bar, and it has the proper design, which I'm all about. So this particular bar I did, and I was pretty happy with this. I felt this was grungy, it looked Avid, it looked the way I wanted it, it had all the details, and this would be my display bar, because it's heavy as fuck. And when you put this 20-inch sucker on that thing, it really is heavy. It's not comfortable to wear at all. So this would be how I would display it when I would just display it in my house. And then Brett gifted me an accurate AOD bar. And you could see right away how much cleaner and nicer. Now, I've gone in and made some mods on this, but even has this accurate squiggle on it. This is an AOD bar, and this was fucking glorious. When I saw this, I was like, damn, I'm not really good at bars, am I? That's the difference between doing your own and it looks good enough, and then doing one that's accurate. Like, really accurate. I mean, look how sharp that is. And so, this I knew meant that one day I was going to build an AOD saw and put this on that. So I've got a couple of bars sitting around, and this is what's going to go on that saw as soon as I get Brett's saw in, and that's how I'm going to display my AOD saw with my AOD costume. Now that we've covered those two costumes in my collection, because really that's where my collection stemmed from, I like to dress as the things. There's extra bits. On the AOD side, this is a pewter goblet, accurate to the one that they used in AOD. My AOD Percolations Necro, which I have custom painted and sealed and made sure that it's been plasti dipped and everything, so it's not going to crack and tear apart. Aved Necro, which everybody wants because it's got all the pages and everything. And Pablo's Spark Plug t-shirt, accurate to the way it appears on the show, which was really difficult because I had to find a picture of the actual spark plug and modify it because there actually isn't a really good version of this hanging around. Kurt's Pablo mask, which he sculpted in 2 hours. Fuck you. This beautiful bastard, I hand-stitched, did a little bit of extra finishing. Kurt did a great job with this. And, of course, I took a Kramer wig, cut it, and modified the crap out of it so that it looked a little bit more Pablo. It's a little lighter than it should be. His hair's a little darker. But in the end, it photographs nice, particularly with the yellow. This was a lot of labor of love, and a lot of people contributed to it. But the infamous Trifari necklace. We've sold the most of these. And Gavin did a great job with the file. And let me see if I can get to focus on this. No, not me. Yeah. No, not me. Yes. 20 pips, exactly the way it appears, exact size it appears in Ash versus the Evil Dead. I have some little vials of sand from the Evil Dead 1 cabin shooting site. Some paneling, and some of the tin roof, which a lot of people seem to forget that the cabin is a tin roof cabin, of the Evil Dead 2 cabin. These are actual pieces of the Evil Dead 2 cabin, salvaged with permission, certificate of authenticity, and of course a map showing exactly where they came from. The other thing that I have, courtesy of Vinny, was I do have some production used pages, which was really sort of the start to the whole project of making Ash versus the Evil Dead's Necronomicon. It gave me an idea of how they did their digital weathering, how I could replicate it, change it, and improve upon it, and make it something that I think everybody would like, without it just being a blatant ripoff. So that is, and I made a custom placard for that, just so I can have this, and this is going to hang with my stuff, because I'm the necro guy, apparently, so why the hell not? That's how I would display that. And that was just an idea I had to put it on red velvet in that frame and just sort of have it. Lost pages from ED2, which I've gone over in video. I went through painstaking effort to do these Sullivan style, quote unquote, so I could prove that, yes, I can do Sullivan if I want. You don't have to just say, so like, this is a very accurate Sullivan page. Like, I can do Sullivan if I wanted to. I just don't want to. The last thing that I didn't show you guys, well, I showed it to you, but I didn't talk about it, from Aved was, we were working on doing a dagger. And this is Kurt's original sculpt for the dagger, and it's something that I was starting to retool and rework. And it's pretty cool, but there's a lot to work on with it. But so that's my collection. That's what I have for Evil Dead. That is, 2 costumes. Well, 3 if you count Pablo. That's the jewelry. That's the set pieces. That's the replica pieces. That's the gloves. That's the saws. That's the little bits like the goblets and things like that. The brooches. That's my collection. And whether you're an Evil Dead 2 guy, whether you're an AVED guy, everything in between, it's all good because it's all Evil Dead.